The main theme of this chapter is the rise, development, and achievements of ancient Greek civilization. It explains how early civilizations like the Minoans and Mycenaean began, how they lived, and how they later declined. It also shows how geography, mountains and sea affected the life of people and led to the creation of small independent city-states called polis. The text highlights growth of Greek culture and identity, development of city-states like Athens and Sparta, important time periods like Dark Age, Archaic Age, and Classical period. Major achievements in democracy, art, science, and architecture. In short, the theme is the history and progress of ancient Greece from early civilizations to its golden age and beyond. Ancient Greece long story summary, very easy English. Long ago, about 4000 saal back, a great civilization began on an island called Crete. This civilization was called the Minoan civilization. It was the first advanced civilization of ancient Greece. The Minoans lived happily on their island, surrounded by the blue sea. Because they were near the sea, they became excellent sailors and traders. They built strong ships and traveled across the Mediterranean Sea to trade goods like pottery, jewelry, and metal items. The Minoans built a very famous palace called Knossos, which was not just a palace but also a center of government, business, and culture. It had advanced features like toilets and drainage systems, which shows how intelligent and advanced they were. They also had a writing system called Lineae, but even today, historians cannot understand it. The Minoans were mostly peaceful people. They did not build strong defensive walls around their palace. This is because their island location protected them naturally from enemies. However, their peaceful life did not last forever. A huge volcanic eruption on a nearby island called Terra around 1500 BC caused great destruction. This natural disaster badly affected the Minoans, and slowly their civilization came to an end. After the Minoans, another powerful civilization rose in mainland Greece. This was the Mycenaean civilization, named after the city of Mycenae. Unlike the peaceful Minoans, the Mycenaeans were strong warriors. They lived in constant fear of war, so they built huge, thick defensive walls around their cities. Their society was more focused on fighting and protection. The Mycenaeans were also skilled traders. They traded metals and luxury goods with faraway places like Egypt and Cyprus. They made tools and weapons using these materials. Many weapons such as swords, spears, and chariots have been found in their tombs. This shows that they valued war and bravery. Kings were often buried with weapons like daggers. This shows their power and importance as warriors. A dagger also symbolized strength, courage, and authority. However, just like the Minoans, the Mycenaeans also declined. Around 1200 BC, their cities were destroyed or abandoned. Historians are not sure why this happened. It may have been due to war, invasion, natural disasters, or drought. After the fall of the Mycenaeans, Greece entered a difficult time known as the Dark Age. During this period, life became very simple, and much knowledge was lost. There was very little writing, and historians know very little about this time. Then came the Homeric Age, when a famous poet named Homer lived. He wrote two great epic poems called the Iliad and the Odyssey. These stories were about heroes, wars, and adventures. They helped to preserve Greek culture and traditions. It is believed that Homer was blind and came from a place called Chios. As time passed, Greece entered the Archaic Age, 800 BC. During this time, an important development took place, the rise of city-states, also called polis. Because Greece was full of mountains and separated by seas, people could not travel easily. So, instead of forming one large country, they formed many small independent city-states. Each city-state had its own government, laws, and traditions. Some of the most famous city-states were Athens, Sparta, and Thebes. These city-states often fought with each other, but they still shared the same language, religion, and culture. This shared identity was called Greekness. During the Archaic Age, Greeks also began to travel and settle in new lands around the Mediterranean and Black Sea. This helped to spread their culture and increase trade. Then came the classical period 480 BC, which was the golden age of ancient Greece. During this time, Greece reached the height of its power and success. In Athens, a new system of government called democracy was developed. In democracy, people had the right to take part in decision making. This period also saw great achievements in architecture, beautiful buildings, art and sculpture, science and philosophy, law and politics. During this time, the Greeks also fought important wars. In 490 BC and 480 BC, they fought the Persian Wars and united against a common enemy. Later, there was a long and destructive conflict called the Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta. Important events also happened during this time. Courts were established in Athens, and a famous philosopher named Socrates was sentenced to death in 390 BC. In 390 BC, a new phase began. A powerful king named Philip II of Macedon invaded Greece and took control. This marked the beginning of the Hellenistic period. His son, Alexander the Great, became one of the greatest conquerors in history. He spread Greek culture, language, and ideas to many parts of the world. Finally, in 840 BC, Greece was conquered by the Romans, and the Roman period began. Even though Greece lost its independence, its culture continued to influence the Roman world and future civilizations. The earliest Greek civilizations, the Minoans and Mycenaeans, are called the Aegean civilizations. For many years, they were lost to history. Later, archaeologists like Schliemann and Evans rediscovered them by finding important objects such as buildings, pottery, weapons, and tools. These discoveries help historians understand how ancient people lived, what they believed, and how their societies worked. However, many questions still remain unanswered, especially about their language, rulers, and daily life. In the end, the story of ancient Greece is a story of rise, fall, and great achievements. From peaceful traders to powerful warriors, from small city-states to a great cultural empire, Greece has left a lasting impact on the world. Now let's revise some important fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks. The Minoan civilization developed on the island of Crete. The Minoans lived around 2000 BC. The Mycenaean civilization developed in mainland Greece. The Minoan civilization collapsed due to a volcanic eruption. The eruption occurred on the island of Thera. Mycenaean civilization lasted from 8.0 BC. Mycenaean towns built strong defensive walls. Around 1200 BC, Mycenaean cities were destroyed or abandoned. The period after Mycenaeans is called the Dark Age. The Dark Age lasted from 800 BC. After the Dark Age came the Homeric Age. The Homeric Age lasted from 1800 BC. The famous poet of this time was Homer. Homer wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey. Greece is a mountainous country. Because of mountains, travel was difficult. Greek cities were called polis. Each polis had its own government and laws. Famous city-states included Athens, Sparta, and Thebes. Greeks shared a common culture and language. The Archaic Age lasted from 800 BC. During this age, Greeks formed colonies. The Classical period lasted from 480 BC. This period is known as the Golden Age of Greece. Democracy developed in Athens. The Persian Wars occurred in 490 BC and 480 BC. The Peloponnesian War began in 438 BC. The Peloponnesian War ended in 404 BC. Socrates was forced to die in 399 BC. Courts were established in Athens in 462 BC. Philip II of Macedon invaded Greece in 338 BC. The Hellenistic period lasted from 338 BC. The Roman period began after 840 BC. The Romans conquered Greece in 840 BC. The earliest Greek civilizations are called Aegean civilizations. The Minoans were named after King Minos. The palace of the Minoans was at Knossos. Minoans used a script called Linear A. Linear A has not been deciphered. Minoans were skilled in trade and navigation. Mycenaeans were known for their warlike nature. Mycenaeans used weapons like swords and spears. Trade helped Mycenaeans get materials for tools. Archaeologists discovered these civilizations in the 19th century. The archaeologist Arthur Evans discovered the Minoans. The archaeologist Schliemann discovered the Mycenaeans. A dagger in a tomb shows power and status. The octopus design shows connection with the sea. Greece did not become one nation because of its geography. Instead, it became a group of city-states. The sense of shared identity in Greece is called Greekness. The Mycenaean city of power was Mycenae. Minoan goods were exported across the Mediterranean. The palace at Knossos had advanced drainage systems. The Minoans were mainly peaceful people. Mycenaean tombs contained weapons. The Archaic Age is also called the Age of Colonization. The Classical period saw growth in science and art. Alexander spread Greek culture across the world. Ancient Greece influenced later Roman civilization. Let's answer the questions from the book. Q1. Why might a Mycenaean king have been buried with this dagger? A Mycenaean king might have been buried with this dagger to show his power and high status. Because he was a warrior. People believed he might need weapons in the afterlife. Q2. What might the dagger be a symbol of? The dagger is a symbol of power, bravery, military strength. Leadership of a king. King 3. Why do you think this pottery bears an octopus as a motif design? The pottery shows an octopus because the Minoans lived on the island of Crete. They were closely connected to the sea. Sea animals like octopus were part of their daily life and culture. Q4. In what way is this an important primary source for historians? This pottery is important because it shows art and design of that time. It tells about their life and environment. It helps historians understand their culture and beliefs. Q5. Glossary meanings of words. Crete. An island in Greece where the Minoan civilization developed. Linear A. A writing system used by the Minoans still not understood. Mycenae. A famous city of the Mycenaean civilization. Poulos. A Greek city-state with its own government and laws. Q6. What is odd about the words Minoan and Mycenaean? These words are odd because they were not used by the people themselves. They were given later by modern archaeologists. Q7I. What is it about the geography, location of Crete that explains why Knossos had no defensive walls? The palace at Knossos had no walls because Crete is an island. It is surrounded by the sea. The sea protected it from enemies. So, there was no need for strong walls. Q7E. What is it about the geography of Greece that explains the development of independent city-states polis? Greece has many mountains, many islands. Because of this, travel was very difficult. People lived in separate areas. So, they formed independent city-states polis instead of one nation. Q8. Imagine you are a junior archaeologist. Prepare a media report. What material evidence has been found? Archaeologists found buildings and palaces like Knossos, pottery and jewelry, weapons, swords, daggers, tools and records. B. What conclusions have been drawn? From these findings, we know Minoans were traders and peaceful. Mycenaeans were warlike and strong fighters. Both had advanced skills and culture. See, what questions remain unanswered. Some things are still unknown. Meaning of linear A writing. Names of rulers and gods. Exact reason for their decline. D. What did it feel like to be part of this discovery? It felt exciting and amazing. Like discovering a lost world. Proud to help understand ancient history. Q9. Difference between Minoan and Mycenaean civilization. Time period. Minoans lived around 2 सफर 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 से 1-4 सफर BC. Mycenaeans lived around 1-5 सफर सफर से 1-1 सफर सफर BC. Location. Minoans lived on the island of Crete. Mycenaeans lived in mainland Greece. Lifestyle. Minoans mostly peaceful and focused on trade and culture. Mycenaeans warlike and focused on fighting and protection. Buildings. Minoans built palaces like Knossos, which were large and advanced. Mycenaeans built cities with thick, strong defensive walls. Defense. Minoans did not need strong walls because the sea protected them. Mycenaeans needed strong walls because they faced wars. Trade. Minoans traded pottery, jewelry, and metal goods across the Mediterranean. Mycenaeans traded metals and luxury items with places like Egypt and Cyprus. Weapons. Minoans rarely used weapons, mostly peaceful people. Mycenaeans used swords, spears, and chariots. Warriors valued bravery. Writing system. Minoans used Linear A, still not understood. Mycenaeans used Linear B, used for records, understood by historians. Culture or art. Minoans loved art and sea motifs, created beautiful pottery. Mycenaeans focused on war and power, buried weapons in tombs. King's leadership. Minoans kings had power in the palace, named after King Minos. Mycenaeans warrior kings, often buried with weapons to show power. Decline. Minoans civilization ended due to volcanic eruption on Thera. Mycenaeans civilization ended around 8 BC. Reason may be war, invasion, or natural disasters. Archaeological discovery. Minoans discovered by Arthur Evans. Mycenaeans discovered by Heinrich Schliemann. May feature. Minoans trade, art, culture, and navigation. Mycenaeans military strength, defense, and warrior culture.